Okay, y'all, Lucian Black here with Into the Chasm, and I've got a new friend on today. This is Jeremy Todd.
Hey.
He is a local artist, guitar player, and songwriter, singer.
Yeah.
He's got a couple music videos out, and he's got some music on Apple Music and on YouTube. And before the end of this, we're going to show you one of his music videos. We might play a snippet of his song, and he, if he wants to, could play something
Sure.
on his acoustic. He brought that too as well.
Sure.
So first of all, nice to meet you, brother.
Yeah, nice to
Thanks
meet
for
you,
coming
man.
and being part of this. This
Thanks
is really
for having
cool meeting everybody around here and
Yeah, for sure. We
just
need more
connecting,
stuff.
man.
Yeah, we need more stuff like this.
Yeah. It'd be really nice to see more stuff like this pop up.
Yeah.
Just connecting the dots with artists and getting everybody met. You
Yeah.
know, Logan Chapman was on last week, and I'm going to be releasing his stream that we did. Probably, I think he wants me to release it tonight. But starting off, where are you from? What's your quick story?
My quick story.
If you have a quick, or a long story.
No, it's I'm from Mattoon, Illinois. Born and raised. I moved to Benton, Illinois about 5 or 6 years ago,
Yep.
somewhere in that ballpark. And yeah, that's it. I've played music since I was 13. Used to be in some local bands in this area.
Yeah.
That's why I moved to this area.
Yep,
'cause
Clock Tower Showdown.
Yeah,
What'd you
Clock
play in Clock Tower?
I played drums. in
Drums.
Clock
You
Tower
were
Showdown,
drums
yeah.
in Clock
Yeah.
Tower.
Forgetting Paris
Uh-huh.
and yeah.
So you said, I think you said drums was your first baby, right? Was that your first?
Yeah, that's like my principal instrument.
Yeah.
So.
When did you pick up guitar? Was that like you were learning them simultaneously, or were you learning drums and one day you're like, I'm gonna
I've
pick up
kind
the
of
guitar?
picked it up off and on. I think I don't know, maybe in like 2012, I
Yeah.
got like a little more serious about it.
When the world was supposed to end, you're like, I
Yeah.
gotta learn a new
It's like, I
instrument.
better do it.
Uh-huh.
And then I think, I don't know, in 2015, several of my friends were into this band called the Avett Brothers.
Uh-huh.
I kind of liked what they were doing.
Yeah.
Got into them and actually had a few songs that I had written and got to go down to Nashville and record 3 tunes with their drummer.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah,
That's cool.
He used to be the drummer for a band called Dashboard Confessional.
Oh my God.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Breathe in
Yeah.
for luck.
So all that good
Are
drumming.
they
back
still
there
around?
was him.
Dashboard? Are they still?
I think the singer still does it.
His own. Is it still Dashboard just him?
I think so.
I haven't heard from any of their stuff since high school.
I have no idea. Yeah, same. I've not listened
Vindicated.
to them in a long time.
I remember that.
Vindicated
That was a
good
main
song,
song on a movie or something, wasn't it?
yeah. It was on like the second
Spider-Man. Yeah,
movie,
that's what it fucking was.
And Rick Rubin, I think he produced that soundtrack too. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's nuts. So so you've collaborated with other artists as well. Are there
Yeah.
any other local artists you've collaborated with? Just live shows. I'm sure you've jumped on a couple different microphones.
Oh yeah, I've played with Logan
Yeah.
Chapman a few times.
Oh, okay, so you know Logan. Cool.
Yeah, I know Logan. 90s Kids, I just played with them on Saturday.
Yeah.
Which I know you've had Dustin and Matt on here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got to sing. I sang "Just a Girl"
Uh-huh.
by No Doubt. With
Oh
them.
my God. Yeah, that's awesome. Was that fun?
It was so much fun.
That's cool.
Yeah, I didn't. Man,
Did you throw your own twang on it or what?
I
Or did you do female voice?
I tried to
I'm
do
just
it
a girl.
exactly. My voice is pretty high,
Uh-huh.
so I mean, I tried to sing it like Gwen. I
Yeah.
tried to bring out my inner Gwen Stefani
Yeah.
before the shit was bananas.
Throw the soft stuff in
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I listened to it. I played a show in Murfreesboro for their
Uh-huh.
4th of July celebration beforehand, and I remember on the way there and on the way back getting every word. And when I got up on stage with them, I was just like, what order does this shit go in?
Words,
Like
words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it was still so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, they sounded great, and it was a lot of fun, and I hope to do it again soon.
So as far as recordings and stuff, and like I said, we're gonna play some of your stuff here in a bit. Where did you record, and what was that process like?
So, like on all the streaming platforms, I have a single that I released February of 2020, I think. Yes. And it was recorded in Nashville.
Yeah.
With Mike.
Okay.
And he brought in Paul DeFiglia, who plays with Langhorne Slim and the Avett Brothers, and Critter Fuqua from Old Crow Medicine Show. And,
Yeah.
just had like all these all-star people on it, and it was just such this crazy.
Were you freaking out?
Oh, I was freaking out bad. And then kind of nothing happened with that. My dad, not to get too heavy, but my dad committed suicide like right after I recorded that. So I kind of quit playing, made some really bad decisions.
It's expected, man. That's some heavy shit.
So, and then I guess like I picked it back up, moved down here, kind of started playing again, and I played at Wonder Down Music Festival in Makanda.
Yeah.
And some of the guys from the Way Down Wonders saw me there and liked the music. And so their drummer, John, produced my whole record. He did, and with some co-producers too, Matthew Pittman and Sammy Henriksen, in Chicago at King Size Sound Labs, which is, I think that they have a Chicago studio and they have an LA studio.
Yeah.
So the LA studio is like where Hanson's recorded and Mick Jagger
Epic.
and all that stuff. Yeah.
Even they're still a band.
Dude, they're
Hanson.
amazing.
Yeah,
I'm
they've
such a
always
big
been
fan.
amazing just since they're children.
Yeah.
Listen to them growing up as kids playing music.
Exactly. It's not even like a guilty pleasure anymore.
Yeah.
I just love them. I don't care.
I think at that age, it was like you're young listening to Hanson. You're like, you're
Yeah.
young and you're like, you can't listen to that shit.
Yeah,
Then you get older and you're like, fuck it, I listen to that shit.
Listen to it. It doesn't matter.
It's like I know all the words almost every damn Spice Girl song on the planet.
Sure, man.
So Avid Brothers, is
Yes.
that something that you said would be like a major influence when you were a kid? Because you said that actually like pushed you to want to create, right?
So I didn't even discover them till maybe like 2012. I had started to like hear about them.
Yeah.
But in 2015, maybe 2014, my girlfriend at the time, Molly, took me to. She surprised me with tickets to go see him at the Peabody Opera House in St. Louis. It was fucking insane.
That's cool.
Like, and their recordings don't do their live show justice. Now, their recordings are great. Rick Rubin produces their albums, and they sound great. But going and watching them live, I was just like, however I have to do that, I need to do it.
Man, there are a lot of artists that manage to do better live than like any recording can even do. I think because there's so many artists that I think in a lot of recordings they'll hold back to get just a clean record, and then people in concert they'll push the emotion and the depth out of their voice in there.
Sure.
You can see some real
energy.
fire.
Yeah, you really feed off the energy of the crowd at a live show.
For sure.
So it kind of makes you perform differently.
Yeah.
If I'm playing to like nobody at Walker's Bluff, I'm standing there probably rolling my eyes sometimes. Like, you don't get applause for like 5 or 6 songs in a row. But then you go play a music festival like the next night and there's a bunch of people there ready to hear original music. John Brown's in Marion.
Yeah.
It's fucking insane. It's like it is like a hub for people that want to hear original music and see original artists, and that's what I'm more interested in doing than going to like a bar.
Well, because that's community right there.
Right, exactly.
That's community. Danny, I'm trying to get him on here.
Oh,
We've been messaging back and forth. We haven't locked anything in yet, but we'll see.
He's great, man.
He's a cool guy. He's a whaler too on that microphone. I saw him at there's this local winery and it's just gorgeous. Well, they're all freaking gorgeous.
Yeah.
Honker Hill, is that what it's called? That place is amazing. Shout out. That place is just really cool because it's one of those places you don't feel like you have to go out there and just get hammered. You can just have a drink and just chill.
Yeah.
Lot spacious. Everybody's happy and it's outside.
Yeah.
So when you're younger, Avid Brothers definitely pushed you and gave you some influence. Is there any artists today, or have you kind of just cultivated your own thing to where it's like your own baby, your own influence now?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of me on the record. The Avett Brothers influence is definitely on there.
Yeah.
Going back to like my childhood, my grandmother listened to like a lot of old country and a lot of oldies. There was lots of Johnny Cash and Merle Haggard and Willie Nelson,
Hank Williams.
Everly Brothers, Hank Sr. Yeah, Hank Sr. was huge.
Yeah.
With the Everly Brothers and Patsy Cline and Buddy Holly and stuff like that. So that was all really influential. And then my dad was really into like classic rock. He was like a huge Beatles and Rolling Stones fan.
Oh yeah.
So I got like a little bit of everything, I felt like. And at the time, especially like in my like teenage years, you didn't want to like the same stuff as your parents. So I went down like a major
rebellion.
I went down like a major like punk rock rabbit hole. I got into like Blink-182 and Green Day, and then got
Sum
into,
41
like,
was my shit back in the day, man.
Yeah, and I liked all that stuff. I'd rather go to Vans Warped Tour than like some folk music festival. But now it's like flip-flopped. Yeah, I would rather go see. In fact, my senior year of high school, I went and saw Blink-182 at the Moline, or at the Mark in Moline, and that's probably like the worst concert I've ever seen.
Oh, really? What was it? Their performance? Or?
Yeah, they were just terrible. They didn't sing well. Travis was amazing.
Yeah. He can't fuck up. He's in the zone with that fucking drum set.
And that's the thing, why they're like, pulling on their dicks and dancing around and stuff.
Yeah.
Travis is back there doing like little solos and stuff like
Dude,
that.
Dude, Travis on that set, man, he does some crazy shit.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy is not fucking. He's never fucked around with that drum.
No, he's not, and that's probably why he has like a more prominent career than any of those.
Oh
guys.
yeah, because he jumps on
music,
so
anyways.
many fucking artists collaborate. Like, he literally, you would think, I never would have imagined somebody collaborate that much, like as just a drummer.
Yeah.
Because people just want him on there. It's because he plays some fucking badass licks to begin with.
He's so
He's
creative.
on MGK.
Yeah. Avril Lavigne.
Yeah.
And then I mean tons of rap artists.
Yeah, I think he did something
artists.
with Tech Nine. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
He's collaborated with so many different people, and it's just like, this is badass.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
pretty
it
cool
is.
for a drummer, because I don't see a lot of other drummer collaborators that kind of collab like rap artists do. You know,
Right.
rap artists just
Yeah.
jump on everyone's
Yeah,
song.
exactly.
It's cool to see a drummer actually do that.
Yeah, it is.
So as far as shows and stuff, I'm guessing you played a couple local shows, or probably a lot of local shows if you've been doing it for that long.
Yeah, I play a lot around here. Mostly, I mean, bars and wineries and that kind of stuff. But the festival circuit has really started to pick up quite a bit.
Have you done Sugar Creek?
I haven't done Sugar Creek.
Shout out anyone that wants to jump them in there. He could use that shit.
I would love to do
That'd be
it.
a cool place to
I would
go.
love to do Sugar Creek. I did Wander Down. They've changed it now. It's called Green Sky Get Down.
Nifty.
So I'm playing that. It's in October. Summer Sundown. It's in Effingham in September.
Mm-hmm.
I'm playing Shipyard Music Festival in September as well. It's in Cape Girardeau.
Okay.
And it's with like Yonder Mountain String Band and Samantha Fish. And
Samantha Fish.
Yeah.
That's gonna be dope. My mom might go to that. That's
Yeah,
one of her
she
favorite.
should.
That actually I think is her favorite artist is Fish.
She's great.
If someone wanted to snag one of your concerts, where would they go to check out where your shows and whatnot?
I post everything on Facebook, Instagram. I have a website, which is just jeremytoddmusic.com.
Okay.
And it has all my shows posted on there and merchandise and all that kind of stuff. So.
Do you have a Facebook artist page?
Yes.
Okay. So jeremytodd.com.
Yep.
Or was it Jeremy Todd?
On Facebook, it's just Jeremy Todd, and then the website is jeremytodd.com.
Okay. What's the furthest you've gone and played a show so far? Are you mostly cultivating the local crowd, or have you gone pretty far as well?
I've gone pretty far. I opened for Jim Avett, which is Seth and Scott Avett's dad from the Avett Brothers, and I opened a show for him in Atlanta, a show for him in Nashville, and a show for him in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Oh, cool! So you've done some far away. How was the Atlanta show?
Crazy.
Really?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, and these are mostly like Avett Nation, which is like their fan club.
Yeah.
But it was mostly like, so yeah, there's like basically a built-in crowd for these shows. You know, they're there to see their dad.
They're there by default. It's like their version of Deadheads.
Exactly what it is. It's exactly what it is. But it's cool. That their demographic is, I think, one of the things that drew me to like want to play this style of music, because I played coming from bands like Clock Tower and Forgetting Paris and stuff. I mean, yeah, you can play that music for a while, but eventually I don't know.
Mellow out a little bit.
Yeah, I'm mellowed out a lot.
Well,
too,
that's a lot of energy too. I mean, doing shows like that, like I remember that everyone at that age, when we were going to shows like that, I mean, I was one of the crowd kids. I was just watching all the local bands, and there was just so much energy. And I think at that age, the testosterone, the chemicals are flowing, so you're like, all this energy, and then you kind of start growing up. You have kids, you know, and then everything kind of slows down a little bit, and you're like, I don't really want to just fry my dopamine anymore.
Right.
I kind of want to mellow. So I definitely understand, I guess, in my own perception of how, because my musical taste has changed a lot too, because I used to be huge into metal, and I still listen every once in a while, but like, most of the time I listen to really chill stuff like The Neighborhood, or really just anything calming. I've got a really chill playlist that I just kind of just turn it on and
I like
relax.
everything, man. I will like, I drive so much going to shows and whatnot. So I mean, I could be listening to like The Used or something like that, or I love Kanye West.
The Used is such a cool band too, because they have so many high energy momentum songs like Sound Effects and Overdramatics.
Yeah.
That was one of the first songs I ever learned on the drums, and that song always amped me up. And then they got stuff like Blue and Yellow, and they have a lot of mellow songs too that you can just kind of chill with.
Yeah, and his voice is just so unique in that genre.
His screams like break my throat hearing, like thinking about them. So as far as we were talking about music here, as far as hobbies, do you have any other hobbies that you used to be big on?
Yeah, I used to do, I was an honors art student in high school. I went to college for art for like a year, and then I just got tired of all the like bullshit, like from everyone. So I dropped it.
The Grey Poupon finger in the air. There's art. It's not as exquisite as I need.
Which same thing about music too, but I guess I just clung to that a little harder.
I could see people being more appreciative and less harsh about music because music is very large.
They are. Yeah. They aren't as harsh at about, like if you tell your parents you want to be a painter.
Yeah.
Well, what do you want to do for work? Well, I want to be a painter,
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. But
yeah.
And a musician, still ridiculous, but not as ridiculous, I guess.
It's more tangible nowadays because you can go to a bar and see, oh, there's a musician right there.
Yeah.
You can go to a winery, there's a musician right there.
Yeah. So there's definitely a need for it. I guess there's a need for all of it, all mediums. My friend Dane Johns, you should have him on this podcast.
Dane Johns?
Dane Johns. He just wrote a book.
Oh, cool.
It's called The Futile, and I'm reading it right now. I told him not very long ago. He did an interview with me on his website, and he wrote my biography and stuff. Dane's just a really good writer, and just a really good dude. But his book so far is really, really good. And I don't know where I was going with that, but you should have him on here. He's great.
Dane Johns.
Okay.
Yeah, we can plug up at the end of this and collaborate or communicate and see if I can shout out to him and get him on here.
Yeah.
So have you ever been on a tour, or is that still something? I mean, because you're a full-time dad as well, so that tour is probably a big question mark.
It's a big question mark.
Yeah.
It has to happen, though, is the thing. This is what I want to do with my life. So putting out a record is stupid if you're not going to tour for it.
Yeah.
So we're trying to plan like a fall tour or like an early winter tour. I'm not big on driving in winter storms and stuff like that.
Winters can be really dangerous. I mean, and they're grueling and they're kind of miserable.
Yeah.
That's a whole different.
You get that seasonal depression setting in too.
That's why a lot of people do summer and spring shows.
Yeah, which is ideally that's what I mean, if I could tour south in the winter, maybe do a south tour or like a west,
Texas or Tennessee.
Texas would be amazing. And then save the summer for like music festivals and stuff like that, But yeah, typically ideally I would like to record in the fall and winter and then tour in the spring and summer.
Yeah. So as far as a songwriter, have you where do you get your inspiration from? Is it kind of random? You just be sitting there, and do you write daily, or is it kind of whenever it comes?
I write usually like whenever I'm on the way to work. So yeah, usually every day. I don't listen to music on my way to work. Yeah. Sometimes if I don't feel like anything's coming, I'll put on a podcast or something. But I'll just be like kind of singing. I'll have a melody or a phrase or something, and I'll just sing it.
So you're creating on the way to work too. Yeah. Cool. So it's just always in there, just incubating.
All the time.
That's how you cultivate it.
I have like 112, 115, something like that voice memos in my phone right now. Just like choruses or bridges or verses or full songs or whatever. Yeah. So, and then I'll sit down with him when I have time to write, and I'll just be like, okay, let's put this verse will go with this chorus or whatever, So. And that's honestly my favorite part, especially like the older I get, is just like the creating aspect.
Yeah.
Of it, because playing shows, like I think a couple weeks ago I played like Thursday, Friday, Saturday I had like 3 shows, and then I played a 3-hour show on Sunday, and then I had to go back to work on Monday. So I was just like wiped out.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Plus having like a family at home, it's
because I mean you're not just working, you're not just an artist, you're also raising children.
Yeah, exactly.
And that, I mean, you can't turn that off either.
Yeah, no, which, I mean, it's good. I mean, the family is all like supportive for the most part, but it does get grueling. I mean, especially when that person's on the other end, just being like, I'm here by myself, like doing this, but
Daddy need to get home real quick.
That's right. But at the same time, my dad was a really gifted artist.
Yeah.
He was a really good painter. He could sketch anything, and he went to art school. And then he got kind of trapped in that factory world, making those fat paychecks, the insurance and the benefits, and
9 to 5, man. Yeah, that's right. American dream that's promised to you.
I feel like that was a big part of his depression and anxiety. Is that's not really what he wanted for himself, but that's what he had to do. I guess
survival, not self-expressionism.
And I feel like I don't want to feed that narrative to my kids. I want my kids to have the narrative that, like, they don't owe anybody else an explanation for why they want to do what they want to do,
Yeah.
no matter their situation. Like, my kids know that I love them. I have a good relationship with my kids, and they don't want or need for anything.
Yeah.
You know? So I want them to see me chase this dream and accomplish this dream, so that whatever they want to do, if it's music, cool. If not, whatever it is.
Well, and that's so important for a kid to actually see their dad actually go out there and do it.
Yeah,
me and Chapman were talking about that, and how he's actually just out there making it happen, and he's doing it full time, and that's his job. He's cultivated it into that.
Yeah.
You know, and the fact that you're out here and you're like, you know what, I'm doing it, but you're also working as well.
Right.
You're cultivating it. You're in the middle of that, and it's from the music I've heard, I mean, it's clear to me it's going to go somewhere huge.
Well, thanks, man.
Just keep breeding that beautiful baby right there.
Yeah.
So where would you see yourself, or plan to see yourself in 10 years? You could still gonna be local?
Man, I hope not. I hope in 10 years, I hope I don't even know if labels are the way to go anymore. I have no idea, honestly. But I would like to have some steady type of, like, playing like the bigger festival circuit.
Yeah.
Man, I would love to play like Bonnaroo and Coachella and like that kind of stuff, you know? And it sounds crazy to say that stuff out loud, but I'm a huge believer in, like, you can
manifestation,
whatever.
man.
Yeah,
I was going to say, you said it.
There was a show, Pokey Lafarge is an artist that I like a lot, and he's done some great things. You know, he got signed to Third Man. Jack White stumbled upon him and was like, this dude's awesome, I'm going to sign him. Well, Pokey does an annual show every year at the Castle Theater in Bloomington, because that's where he's from.
Yeah.
And this girl called me and said, hey, do you want me to submit your stuff to be the opener for the Pokey show? And I guess Pokey himself kind of has to, like, look at it just to see
if our genres click or
yeah,
whatever.
because it's like his deal, you know? And that was like a Wednesday that she called. The following Monday, so from that Wednesday through the following Monday, I just kept saying, when I open for Pokey, and someone told me, they're like, you're gonna set yourself up for disappointment, because you already in your gut are telling yourself you're gonna do it. I was like, I'm telling myself I'm gonna do it because I'm gonna make it happen. Like, it's just gonna happen.
I'm not doubting it. It's happening. It's happening. It has to happen.
And they called me on Monday, and they're like, he watched the music videos, listened to the records, like, you're the opener. And I was like,
awesome.
Yeah. So it was insane. I think there was like 700 people there, all that wanted to hear original music.
Oh, cool. So they came right to what they wanted. That's awesome.
Exactly. And so, you know, and they were there for Pokey. They weren't there for me, but I think I got a lot of new followers from that.
Well, that's how you grow, man. Every one of those followers is a new seed in your path, you know? And someone's got your music on their playlist, and somebody out there only listens to your music too.
Sure,
that's crazy to think about too. There's some diehard fans out there, and it's sometimes it's the music, and it's also, it goes beyond the music. There's people who are just loyal to what you represent. I mean, the words in your songs, the lyrics. There might be a song you wrote about relationships or your kid, or just something heavy that happened in your life, and you wrote one specific lyric and it hits somebody, and it's stuck in them, you know, and then they're like, okay, now I gotta download more songs, and then boom, you have a diehard fan, and then they find other people to listen to your music, and it's the whole grassroots thing. That's how you spread,
man. And that's the best thing about music too, is I think Dave Grohl said something like, you know, his favorite thing about singing songs to a crowd of like 300,000 people is that there's 300,000 people are singing it back to him for like a different reason.
Can you freaking imagine that?
No,
Can you imagine that? One of my favorite bands is Bullet for My Valentine, and they're a metal band.
Yeah.
And I was watching one of their shows last night, and a couple actually. I watched one where they played this humongous show, and there was like probably 100,000 people out there, and seeing what they were doing and how just natural they filled the stage with good energy. And that they could just throw the microphone at the crowd and everyone was singing back. I'm like, that has got to be some powerful shit, you know?
It is, man.
And then I saw them still go back, and they would jump into a local dive bar, and they played a metal show in the middle of this small dive bar. And I'm like, that's cool that they have the contrast of the big money maker, but then they go just do a dive show too, which is
I think
cool.
that's really important too. There's this old movie from the 90s called Pure Country. It's like George Strait, and he's like this big country artist that goes by Dusty or whatever. And he's not even singing. It shows that like they have backing tracks and smoke and lights, and he's like so tired of it. So he starts going and playing his acoustic guitar again in like bars and stuff like that. And eventually comes back, and he's like, I'll do the shows again, but it's just gonna be me.
My
it's
own
gonna
thing.
be my own thing. And I feel like so many artists probably get caught in that trap where they're like, it's more about the show than it is about the performance, which don't get me wrong, I feel like people come to see a show for sure. I think David Byron said that, you know, people can stay at home and listen to your records, so if they're paying $100 for a ticket to come see you perform,
have to be different.
You owe them a show. But not at the expense of your performance, though. You know what I mean?
Well, so, I think a lot of artists, they go in not knowing how the industry is, A, and it's pretty cutthroat, and B, not understanding that you have to have a defense too, because people are always going to be trying to push your direction and your sound. They're going to want to try to take what you got and be like, but what if you did X, Y, and Z?
Right.
And then, you know, bands will sacrifice, be like, well, we do this, this, and this, and eventually you do that long enough, you're a whole different product, you know, and the heart's out of it. So it's really cool that you're sticking to your roots to begin with, because that's humongous. So you are a solo artist. Now, we were talking about earlier, you also have a full band as well. So you probably do a bit of both, your own acoustic shows.
I prefer playing with the full band. The record was recorded full band. The music video, the newest one that we did for Single Fatherhood Feels of Corey Dean, is a full band music video. I mean, both are, but that one kind of incorporates the band into it. I prefer that for sure. It's just getting venues to pay you what a full band is worth, so everybody's making some money.
It's not just a sacrifice.
So, and especially since I have a large family, it's like, well, if I'm only making $400, if I'm playing with a full band for 3 hours, like, that's,
I don't know if that's worth the ramen noodles.
Not, you know, exactly.
That's well, because that Dustin was talking about that. He's been doing that as long, I mean, ever since I graduated high school. He's been in local bands and stuff.
I think we were in Clock Tower for a little bit together. I might be making that up, but I can't remember when he came in and when I exited. And I exited a couple times. My grandma died and I got divorced, like, kind of simultaneously, so I stepped away.
So that's a whole phase right there.
And then I came back and I was in it for like maybe another year, and then I was just like, I got to do something else. You know? So, I mean, that was fun.
That's I can't imagine. What do you have a favorite show you've played so far? Like one that you cited in the back of your head, you're like, that one hit me and this was surreal.
That Pokey show is pretty surreal.
That was the one.
Opening for him, looking out at all those people, like, so. And the crazy thing about it too, I just had this energy like come over me. I shit you not, first song, I broke a string in front of all those people. I'm playing. I'm like pounding on my guitar.
I mean, you're playing the damn thing too.
So it just. And I just remember I was like, I got to make this funny or something. So while I'm doing that, my buddy Sammy, who was there, ran out and got a different guitar and like brought it up to me, and we kept it going, and everybody was like so forgiving of that happening and just super into the songs and the music. And I just kind of like reassured me, like, this is what I want to do, man. Like, this is why I want to do this, because all these people are out there like, man, I love this song, or what's the song where you know, afterwards they come up to the merch table, what was the line about this, or what was that, and it's like, oh my gosh, they're listening, you know. So, and that's the best. I don't think there's any other reason to do it. I've never fit the narrative of like the sex, drugs, rock and roll thing, you know. We talked about that. Well, because
that's a fucking trap too, man.
It is a trap, and so many people, like, you know, so many bands have like faltered or like lost lives, you know. I mean, how many rock stars have we lost to like heroin or whatever, you know, or AIDS, or, you know, whatever.
It's the music industry. It'll chew you up and spit you out if you don't choose your direction.
Exactly. And I feel like that's something, luckily, I've always kind of shied away from, mostly because like I can be a bit of a hypochondriac too, so I don't want to, like, I remember the first time I smoked weed, I thought I was dying. I was like,
well, if you're not used to weed, man, it's a paranoid feeling.
Well, I watched Pineapple Express.
Oh, and that painted the picture.
It painted the picture, but it painted the wrong picture.
It could be very different.
I remember just watching like James Franco, and he's like, oh, I thought hurricane season was over.
I thought hurricane season was over.
And just all that. And I was like, man, I definitely got to smoke this shit. So I remember it's like a couple days later, maybe a day later, going over to my friend's house, and they're like, yeah, dude, we're going to smoke some weed and watch some movies and whatnot. And I just remember smoking it, and I just sitting at the table and just being like, what the fuck is happening right now? Like, I felt like the room was getting smaller. I was sweating. I could feel my heart beating. I was like, this is awful. And like everything felt so loud.
Yeah.
And I was like, someone's gonna call the cops.
Well, if you've never really been on anything other than alcohol, your senses have never been tweaked like that.
Oh, and I took way too big of a hit too.
Yeah.
I took a huge
So you didn't even
hit.
just lightly jump into it
No,
either.
I jumped into it.
Oh, that's the biggest problem. You gotta like light foot weed.
Yeah.
Most people
found that out now. I've smoked a few times lately, and it's been great.
Yeah.
And it's just been, but I have buddies who like they smoke it all day long.
Yeah. They got the tolerance, man.
I can't do that, but I can take one little hit.
You gotta look at it like alcohol, and I don't even smoke. I'm just reminiscing about whenever I did smoke.
Sure.
It's like alcohol. If you don't ever drink and you go out and you have 3 shots and 2 beers, like you're done.
Yeah.
If you don't drink, maybe have 2 beers, 3 tops. You know.
Yeah.
If you don't smoke, maybe don't smoke a whole blunt.
Yeah.
Smoke a couple puffs and let that feeling
go.
hit you, because you're gonna be like, this is way stronger than I thought. And plus, there's so many strands.
Yeah.
And so many places they could have got that weed, and that shit could be laced too. There was one time when I was like 22 years old, and I just smoked a little bit, and I had a pretty good fucking tolerance at the time because I was a smokeaholic. Because I used to have the local trap house when I was younger, and I don't know who brought it, but I smoked some weed, and I was like, this tastes weird. And then I drove to take someone home, and then I remember just having an almost out-of-body experience as I'm driving off of weed, and I'm like, this is not weed, bro. And like it smelled like it, but there was something different about it. And then I felt the sensation of what felt like Christmas lights going around my eyeballs, and I'm just like, what the fuck? I'm driving, and then cars, I couldn't tell how close they were.
Yeah.
Cars were like, kush, 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 rather than just being like,
right.
you know, they're like, ganja is I don't smoke anymore because I'm paranoid.
That's how I usually
kind of did a giant back step away from all that stuff, and I don't even drink much anymore. Lately, I drink more than normal.
Yeah. I like alcohol. Alcohol sits with me just fine.
Yeah.
Except the next day, if I drink too much of it. I just like the older I get, the less I can handle the hangover.
Yeah, man.
You know?
You got to keep those electrolyte packets on you. That's how I get through them nowadays. Go out with the electrolytes on you. Have you ever done mushrooms? I know that is out in space.
It is, man. I'm intrigued by all of that stuff. So I'm a huge Father John Misty fan. He microdoses LSD.
Yeah.
I want to try it, but I have no idea what would happen.
So
because I've always heard you have to be. I'm always in like a pretty dark or anxious headspace, and not to seem like any certain way.
Yeah.
I just am. There's always something going on up here. And so I'm just afraid of what would happen.
What might get activated. What might come out.
Yeah. Which I've had a lot of buddies say, like, man, that could be some really good therapy.
Or it could do the opposite. Too. Exactly. Yeah.
Face some demons. You know?
I know in California they're doing these trials for war veterans with who have CPTSD. I myself, I would say I still have variants of CPTSD. I've kind of just done my own kind of experimental therapy to get myself out of it. But I know war veterans in somewhere in California, they're testing mushrooms at microdose levels. So they're not just giving war veterans mushrooms and being like, go have fun.
Yeah.
They're like small amounts, so that, and what they're finding out is it like it resets your dopamine and your serotonin. If you think about all the thoughts and emotions in your head having like multiple folders, and it's like microdosing mushrooms makes those folders less dense.
Sure.
It shreds the folders, and you come back to some ground root awareness where you're just like, it's all good. It's like it brings you back to some kind of just natural normal where you're like, I can write if I want to without XYZ. I can go eat a burger without X, Y, and Z.
Yes. Someone offered me some at a music festival I played at probably just 3 or 4 weeks ago. Yeah. And they put them in capsules.
Yeah, exactly.
And they said, don't take any more than 4 of these.
Yeah.
If you take 4, it's gonna it's gonna make the colors more vibrant.
That's when you start tripping.
Sobriety's
out.
Right. They're like, if you take more than that, then. And I was getting ready to go on stage, so I was like,
that's
I
a gamble.
opted out.
That's a huge
and I'm
gamble,
using that as an excuse. If I hadn't been going on stage, I probably still wouldn't have done them just because I didn't know what was going to happen.
Well, yeah. I mean, when it comes to something like mushrooms, you want to put a couple toes in the water.
Yeah.
Some people are like dive head first. That's how I was when I was younger. Not anymore.
Yeah.
But I actually did some microdosing for about a month, like 6 months ago or so.
Yeah.
Because I did some crazy shit when I was younger. been through some crazy shit when I was younger, and you know, it's like old memories of just harsh shit you've been through, and it's just like you try to live a normal life, and that stuff keeps coming out.
Right.
And then I microdosed, and it's just like it like took those thoughts out, put them somewhere else.
Yeah.
And once I got to the end of that month-long microdosing, those thoughts didn't come back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was kind of sitting there,
That's
and
interesting.
it improves your creative too, because I am also a creator and artist. I've got a ton of books I've been wanting to write, and a lot that are started, and a couple that are like 80 or 90 pages in. But then there's those anxious second, third,
Sure.
A, B, C, D reasons your brain's like, well, I need to clean today, or I need to go grocery shopping, or in your case, you got daddyhood on swole.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, you got A through Z probably, you know, but definitely
There's
for me,
more.
just talking about it openly, no pressure on doing something like that. That's like your own journey. But I would say for me, as from talking about substance at a micro level, it will change your life.
Yeah.
Definitely. But again, no pressure. That's your own thing. Just
Sure.
openly talking about it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm intrigued for sure.
Yeah.
My buddy Trevor once was talking to me about he had some ayahuasca that he got, and he asked me if I wanted to partake, and I was just like, maybe. And so like over the next couple days we had talked about it more at work, and I actually ended up watching some videos on YouTube about it and stuff, and I was like, I don't think so, man.
Ayahuasca is one of those things you're jumping. Like I don't think there's any baby step in ayahuasca because it's like that's a full. That's not a light substance.
We watched a documentary about it on Netflix, and it, like there were people that were having strokes and shit from taking it because I guess some people get so like stressed.
Yeah.
It raises their blood pressure and like that kind of stuff, and other people it doesn't do that to. You know?
Yeah.
There's also a really good documentary on Netflix about LSD as well, or acid.
Yeah.
I can't remember, but it's a bunch of celebrities talking about it.
Yeah.
Ben Stiller's on there, and he says,
Ben Stiller?
He said he did it once. It was a one and done type thing.
Oh,
for
really?
him.
Ripped off the Band-Aid?
He said it was miserable.
Really?
Yeah.
He doesn't strike me as someone that would do something like that.
He seems like he's uptight a
clean
little bit.
cut.
I'm like that too, to a certain extent. I wouldn't say I'm like clean cut, but I'm very like
controlled.
I'm hyper self-aware.
Yeah.
So like when I do that stuff and I get even more
holding
in my
the
head,
surroundings down.
That's right. So, yeah. So I don't know. Maybe mushrooms. I think are probably the most realistic thing that I would try.
Well, they're earthy.
For sure.
I mean, you kind of know where they came from, and you know this wasn't made in a laboratory.
Right.
I did LSD quite a few times back in the day, and I thought LSD was one of those things that you grow a tolerance to, so you eventually had to take more. I was apparently very fucking wrong.
Yeah.
Me and one of my buddies, we did LSD once a week for 3 weeks, and it was light and it was cool. We'd watch this thing on YouTube called Off the Air. It was like a Adult Swim special, and they just play the trippiest shit you've ever seen. It just like breaks your reality, and it was cool. But then that fourth week, we're like, okay, I guess we're getting a tolerance. It's not doing much, so we did a big dose. It wasn't good. We thought we were dying. We were tripping so hard. We called the 911 and went to the hospital. We were those dudes. By the time we got to the hospital, dude, I thought my heart was pounding out of my chest and I was dying. And then they like checked my heartbeat and they're like, your heart is normal. And I'm like, and then it started hitting and I started relaxing and I was like, what are you guys doing here?
That first time that I smoked weed, I remember I left because eventually they were like, get out of here. You're going to get us in trouble because you're being so crazy.
Red flag. Yeah.
So I left. I got pulled over on the main street of Mattoon because I was going 4 miles an hour in a 35. Like just driving this big 15 passenger van like down the road. And so a cop pulled me over and he was cool. I mean, and I guess I played it off cool enough for him to not think that, but he's like, everything okay? You're going about 4 miles an hour. And I was just like, I'm just having some van problems. I'm just going home.
Yeah.
But in my head, like my hands were shaking so bad.
Yeah.
Like, and he was just like, well, he's like, I can follow you home, or, you know, I was like, I think I can get there. He didn't follow me home, thank God, though.
Oh, that would have been
all over the road.
Yeah.
So I ended up pulling into a car wash, and I just called my mom, and I was like, Mom, I smoked weed for the first time. Mind you, I'm in my 30s.
Yeah. Oh, that's
so,
yeah.
Like, it's just ridiculous. And my mom is very, not harsh is the wrong word. My mom's great, but she's very blunt and very just who she is. And she's pretty much just like, oh, if you're a big enough boy to smoke that shit, then you're a big enough boy to figure it out. You know,
you made your bed, you sleep in it.
Exactly. So yeah, I ended up going home and thankfully figured it out. But it was
that's a whole different realm, man. And you know, the thing about substances, because I got off of substances for the most part because I wanted to get back to some type of like sober creativity, and then. I didn't realize how many songs were written because of substance in the first place. You know,
yeah, man.
People who are A, alcoholics, or B, strung out on something. And I think in a perfect world, my brain thinks only sobriety comes up with the most beautiful things. But honestly, a lot of deep ass songs with a lot of meaning, people were fucked up.
The Beatles are a prime example of that, man. Like, listen to the Beatles when they first started. And they were a lot more clean cut and whatnot, and then listen to them as their career evolves.
Yeah.
You know? And they were like, dude, I mean, they did everything, man.
Yeah.
And the same goes, I mean, for probably most bands. I was watching an interview with Steven. It was, I think, Oprah even. Oprah was interviewing Steven Tyler from Aerosmith, and he said, what's, you know, he was talking about how long he's been sober now, and, you know, how grateful he is for it and everything. But she says, has anything suffered because of it? And he goes, the music.
Yeah.
He's like, go back and listen to our early records. They're amazing. He's like, listen to our new stuff. You know, it's not the same.
Not as stimulating.
Not at all.
That's the thing, man. It's because I know me, whenever I got sober, it's like it's like a return back to zero.
Yeah.
But then you're getting comfortable with just neutral mood, neutral creativity, because there's that fuck yeah, motherfucker energy whenever you're on, if you're high or you're fucking hammered, or... You know, there's like this stimulation level of creativity where you just rock it.
Yeah.
The songs are writing themselves. You know, when I was drunk back in the day, I had a whole song written and I recorded it. And I'm like, this is one of the best things I've ever made. Then you stop really drinking and doing shit, and you're like, where the fuck is that shit now?
Yeah.
You know, I'm still in the process of getting back into the creativity, but that microdosing actually helped me out a lot.
Yeah, I'm definitely intrigued by it. I've been offered mushrooms. I get offered stuff all the time. Yeah. So
I think for you, maybe the best thing would be trying the micro.
Yeah, definitely.
Not jumping balls deep, because, dude, like, shrooms themselves are very overpowering. And different people will tell you different amounts.
Sure.
And then the wrong person will tell you.
It's based on the size of the person, too. You know, somebody who's like 5 foot tall and weighs like, 100 pounds versus somebody that's like 6'4" and weighs like 250 pounds.
Yeah.
Probably not going to do the same amount of mushrooms.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. Yeah, I would definitely... I'm up for trying mushrooms. I probably don't want to be around anybody or anything when I do it, though.
Do it your own way.
Yeah. I just want to... Just let me be by myself and, like, get my thoughts
I bet you would write a fucking song, man.
I would love to do it.
Because some of the most interesting stuff I ever did was microdosing, and that month I did that. I do, like, 4 days on, and I do 3 days off. So you don't, like, develop a habit, you know.
Right.
And I wrote a lot into those books and a lot of creative stuff. But getting back onto the topic at hand here, music and stuff, I say, how about we play one of your music videos?
Let's do it.
And maybe a snippet of one of your songs. If you want, you can play a song.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Let's see what we got here. Jeremy Todd, why don't you come on in and make yourself comfortable?
All right, thank you.
So, what am I seeing here for today?
Several things, but I guess one thing in particular is, how do I say this?
The goddamn baby was crying all the time, and I felt I might lose my mind. Well, it wouldn't be the first time. A wise man told me, take it one day at a time, but I just watched life pass me by, and I guess it's my right. And all along I was trying to do what was right, and all the while just getting a little bit further behind. So I guess I'll just sit here, work this 9 to 5, and give up on these dreams of mine. Yeah, it'll be fine, 'cause life looks so much better with all your nickels and your dimes. But what of those things money just can't buy? Well, I've not the time. And all along I was trying to do what was right, and all the while just getting a little bit further behind. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So why try it all? The closer I get to feeling on top, the more fearful the fall. The goddamn baby was crying once again. Sometimes I think I'll never win. Is it such a sin to dream a life much bigger than the one already had? Sometimes I swear I'll drive myself mad on what do you think could have been. And all along I was trying to do what was right, and all the while just getting a little bit further behind. But I guess it really isn't so bad after all. Sometimes you're up, but most of the time you'll fall. It's the way life goes. But don't take it for granted, the love you've left to give. There'll come a point where it is all there is. That's why we live. So keep on trying and do what you feel is right, and leave all those who doubt you in the dust behind.
Here. Okay, so first of all, that kicks ass.
Thank you.
And why I know for a fact that you, as an artist, are gonna go places is because your music, man. Like I was talking. 1 second, hold up. Your music, it leaves a feel-good feeling on it, and it's not just your. I think your listener is gonna be just searching the feel-good. It's your relatable. Like
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends that are fathers and mothers who are going through that right there.
Sure.
You know, that balance between, okay, how do I pursue my dream while working, paying the bills, and raising children.
Right.
And that's a lot of juggle. And the fact that you can actually do it is going to be inspirational to other people because they're like,
Yeah.
proof.
So, man.
Proof
Yeah.
is in the pudding.
Yeah.
And
sure.
but you also leave a feel good feeling on people. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
I watched that video and it leaves me with a humble feeling. you know, and that is how that's how you get your fans, because like we were talking about earlier, it leaves people with a specific feeling, some words they said, and a lot of I'm not a father, but a lot of what you said, I still some way, shape, or form relate to, because you're always sacrificing for something.
Right, exactly.
And the cool thing about kids, though, it's just the sacrifice you make, you get to watch them grow.
Yeah.
And that's how I am with plants. But
sure, man.
But that's amazing. So as far as that music video, that looked like a lot of fun.
It was a blast.
How long did it take? Was that 2 day?
Yeah, it was 2 separate days. So same company has shot both music videos. I have another one also. It's Half Moon Digital. It's ran by Kylie Daniels. So we started talking about the concept. I told him I wanted it to be like this guy who was in his head about his music career kind of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe he's talking to a shrink and all these thoughts are playing out while he's talking to the shrink. So like the beginning of it is like he's in his head watching his career kind of self-destruct on a stage through like this TV, you know?
Yeah.
And so we just talked about that, and I told him, you know, at one point he's performing and he like the crowd's faces are all now like these baby faces, and he did it in the most like ridiculous.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And so I mean, it's just kind of like, I don't know. The whole concept was the pressure that you feel to succeed, met by the overwhelmingness of being a parent and everything that society tells us about being a parent or having a career or whatever, all the things that you need to do. You can't do this other thing now. And that's bullshit. You know, you can do whatever you want to do. You have to have a good support system. You
can have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah. The Avett Brothers have a line in a song that says, what is the line? It says something about if your love laughs at your dreams, well, it's not as bad as it seems, but either way, one of them has got to go.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I've just built my life, I guess, like, you know, with romantic relationships, friendships, and family relationships. You know, if you're not into what I'm doing, or if you're not about it, then I gotta go, you know, or you've got to go, because I'm trying to do this, you know. So if you can't be a part of it, then we got to cut ties.
Gotta write yourself off, man, because
go.
You're building something.
Yeah, I'm trying to, and
it's
you're
important.
Doing it. Yeah, I'm doing it. That's right. You ain't trying. No, I am. You're doing it. So, and it's important for me that my kids see that, and hopefully build it to a point where they can do something with it, you know, or are inspired to do, like I said earlier, whatever they want to do, whatever that is, you know.
When there's a lot of life lessons in just not only creativity but self-expression and actually pursuing your goals, because if you raise kids and they get every single thing that you put out there, and it's so hard to even fathom. They literally absorb everything. If you raise them, job is number one, everything else is number two. They're gonna get the job. They're gonna do exactly what you tell them and what you kind of put out there. But then if they never pursued that creativity, that self-expression, or whatever fills them, you know, there's that void. And I think what you're, through your lyrics right there, conveying, and I'm guarantee what you already probably tell your kids to begin with, the fact that you had your own kids incorporated in your video. It was adorable and awesome. But it's empowering because you're showing them what you're creating. You know, you're creating this thing. Not only are you just writing a song, you made a music video. Not only was it a music video, some other person didn't just come up with the concept. Most, if not a majority of that, was your idea. So these kids are seeing, okay, dad can write, dad can basically produce. He's a visionary. He can write his own freaking music. Like, that is so many huge, creative, expressive things right there. And if a kid sees that, they're like, wow. Right? I'm like a 33-year-old man, and that's still wow to me.
And I look at my son Jackson is super creative also. He likes to draw. He likes the weirdest shit. Like the cartoons that he likes. I liked a couple weird cartoons, but like I feel like every cartoon or every whatever he likes is just a little bit different than
cartoons today are out there. I was used to Spider-Man and gargoyles.
Same, man. Like I came from like Looney Tunes, which it's a little bit weird, but went from Looney Tunes to like, you know, like Doug and Rocko's Modern Life and stuff like that to, I mean, even like I like Phineas and Ferb and stuff like that, you know. And then my kids were into like, they were into Phineas and Ferb, but then, you know, we're watching like Regular Show and Adventure Time, and I'm like, somebody is dropping acid. Why they do
that is not
cartoons.
sober writing.
There's no way.
Of that.
There's no way.
None of it.
Well, and they're amazing.
Rick and Morty
though.
too. I mean, there's no way you come up with that stuff just off the cuff, because like you can see so much incomprehensible imagination being conveyed there. You're like, that's a spark. You got you got stimulated writing that shit. Which is, like you said, it's freaking amazing.
I love Regular Show so much. I like Adventure Time too, but Regular Show for some reason just resonated on a different level. And I even got into Aqua Teen Hunger Force for a while.
That was fucking hysterical, man.
Oh my gosh, it was so good. And like, I loved Carl and Meatwad so much. I mean, just those characters were so ridiculous. I mean, the whole show is ridiculous.
The whole thing is absurd.
And then when you get into like the Moon Knights and stuff like that, like,
did you ever watch Space Ghost? Coast to Coast?
No,
that was a good one. That was it was more of a like cartoon talk show, and it was kind of that's embedded in my brain, talk show. I never even really thought of that. But those shows were. Did you ever watch Cow and Chicken?
No,
that was an older one.
Yeah,
which had some questionable things.
I remember
if you look
it,
back.
but I never watched it.
It was a cow with like the most sculpted butt on a cow, and you're like, you get older, you're like, what were they showing me? Why was that butt so sculpted?
I'm a
big
Will Arnett fan. I listen to this podcast called Smartless every week, and it's Jason Bateman, Will Arnett, and Sean Hayes. And I didn't know Will Arnett was the voice of BoJack Horseman.
Really?
Yeah.
I've only watched a couple episodes, but it surprised me how
crazy.
Deep that shit was.
My kids also showed me Something Mouth.
Oh, Big Mouth.
Big Mouth.
That fucked me up. I couldn't watch that one.
I couldn't believe too much. I was like, what are you guys watching?
Like the themes in that, like dicks and
it is.
Crazy
it's like
shit.
Seth Rogen wrote it or something. I know he didn't, but like
it's that humor.
We were talking the other day. I was like, why does everything Seth Rogen does have to involve a dick? Because we're watching the first episode of the new Boys. Or The Boys on Amazon, the superhero.
Movie?
No, it's
The Boys, the show,
Yeah. And like the newest episode, it's like, you know, this gay couple are in the hotel room. They're like making out and stuff.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. The dude has got like Ant-Man powers. So he can grow large and shrink down.
All the way down.
And jumped in the pee hole and is like stimulating the guy, but he like sneezes and grows large again while he's in there. And the dude explodes all over the room. And I was like, only in a Seth Rogen show. You know? Because it shows very graphically everything that's happening.
That's Seth Rogen?
Seth Rogen, yeah, he writes and produces it.
I didn't fucking know that.
Him and Evan.
I know it's somebody else that had something to do with Supernatural, I think.
Yeah, I can't remember his writing buddy either, but I guess they were a really big fan of the comic when they were younger, so they're like, we have to get this on television.
That show
that's messed up.
Fucked. Like,
it is.
I love it.
It's amazing.
I love it. It is so well done.
It's amazing.
But
so many
it is
good
so
shows,
fucked.
Man. I think that even television as a medium of art lately, like Ozark, was so
Ozark
well
is
done.
dope.
So good. Breaking Bad was amazing. There's just so
many. I didn't expect
really
to like
good
Breaking
stories.
Bad, but
I didn't
watched
either.
all of it.
Yeah, same. I didn't either. I didn't expect to like The Walking Dead, which I only liked like the first half of it. Got really redundant. I didn't stay with it. I watched like the first maybe 7 seasons, and then I was like, all right, like this is going nowhere at this point.
Yeah.
So
you can see the writers kind of get bored or they're grasping at straws trying to make new content, because eventually the creative process is like you're trying to make this whole one universe of this one show, and it's like you have to have so many extra writers.
And that's what was so amazing about Breaking Bad and like Ozark is that they did it in like 5 seasons, like while it was still burning bright, they like cut it off.
Heavy finish.
Yeah. And it's like, let's just drop it here and not worry about it, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's more important than just keeping something going. You know? I feel like they should have done that with The Walking Dead. And who knows what'll happen. I guess they're coming out with a movie.
For what was it?
For The Walking Dead.
Oh, they're coming out with a movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and apparently, I think there's a trailer even maybe somewhere.
What seems like a good show, I've only watched about 4 or 5 episodes. It's one of those, I watch so many different shows that I have to finish what I'm doing before I start a new one. And Walking Dead is like on the back burner because I'm still finishing The Boys. There's a show called Evil that is really cool. It's on Prime. It's like more supernatural,
Okay.
angels, demons based.
I think we started that.
What, Evil?
Evil, yeah.
It's cool. It's
Is
cool. It's got the guy that's plays Luke Cage. I don't know if you've ever watched that.
I haven't watched it, but I know who you're talking about.
It's a good one. He's a really great actor, and I don't know his freaking name. But so you're a really creative person. Could you ever see yourself writing a show or something like that?
I love all that.
Because I mean,
kind of
watching
stuff.
that video right there, that's the brain of someone that could paint a picture, like an actual,
And
like a.
I think a lot of that, I don't want to not give Kylie enough credit. He is very, like, I remember when he asked me if, he's like, all right, so do you want to write a storyboard for this? And I was like, well, I've never written a storyboard before. So he kind of jotted it out for the first video.
Yeah.
And then I was able to think in those terms for the second video.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so so I'm thinking this guy goes in, he's talking to a shrink.
Yeah.
And just all these, and then he would kind of fill the holes, you know?
He was the glue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And he's great at what he does. So any artist out there who want to shoot a music video, hit up Half Moon Digital, because they're...
And that's called Half Moon Digital.
Yeah.
And obviously, from what we just saw, they make great quality stuff. And because that was amazing, and they helped you convey the message.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Perfectly. The other video is the same way for Realistic Love Song. I'm a huge Wes Anderson fan.
Mm-hmm.
So I told him that a Realistic Love Song is a dysfunctional love song.
Yeah.
It's about this guy who loves this girl, but he doesn't want to tell her that he loves her.
Yeah.
So he does all these things to show her, and she's getting it, but she's not interested, and he's not taking no for an answer. But I was like, since it's so, like, dysfunctional, I think it'd be cool to do a Wes Anderson thing, because all his movies are about dysfunctional relationships, you know, for the most part.
Well, because there's like a beauty to dysfunction as well, you know.
Definitely. And so I don't know, he nailed it. We talked about lots of different concepts for that, and I couldn't be more happy with how the videos turned out. But he also did my friends in Free Range Youth. They're another band based out of Decatur, and I saw their 3 music videos that they did, and I was like, man, who shot these? So I messaged the drummer Nick, who's one of my buddies, and he's like, oh, Kylie, which we used to play with. Kylie, he used to be in this band called Bastion, and our bands used to play together and stuff. And I was like, no shit, like, that's crazy. And we started talking, and the first one turned out so good that I had to do the second one.
Yeah.
And now we're going to do a third one. And
oh, cool.
Yeah, so I'm really excited for the next single. And
hell yeah.
Yeah, so...
You got to throw that up on YouTube as well.
Yes, I will, for sure. I need to be more active on YouTube. So I'm in the process of moving right now. So once I get my studio set up, I'm going to try to do like 2 YouTube videos a month of just playing songs or covers or new originals.
At your own pace,
whatever.
brother.
Yeah,
Don't kill yourself over
it.
it.
No, I definitely
You got
don't.
so much going on.
Yeah, and I have no desire to be like a YouTuber or anything like that, but I think it is important for artists to put out content
for sure
through that medium, because YouTube is it's huge. Everyone uses YouTube. You know, so
one and for connecting with your fans as well, because YouTube, there's actually a commentary section, because I know the biggest thing with fans is people want to hear you and they want to be heard as your fan as well.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can't obsessively be like, okay, all 1,000 fans, I send individual comments, all the time. You lose your fucking mind.
Right.
But YouTube's a good platform, because you can, whenever you find time, you can, if someone comments on there, you can be like, yeah, we'll be playing X, Y, or Z, or thank you so much. Yeah. Definitely, if you like that one, you'll like this song.
I definitely try to respond to everybody that like leaves comments and stuff.
And that's how you fucking expand too, because there's like heart in it.
Yeah.
I watched this entrepreneur called Gary Vaynerchuk, and he gives so much solid advice, not only to artists, which is funny because he's not even a musician. He just gives advice that's well-rounded to a lot of different aspects, and artistry is one of them. He talks about the fact that the biggest mistake that people make as artists or entrepreneurs or any business you're in is not engaging with the fans.
Definitely.
Right? Because there's artists out there who are just doing it, and they want it out of sight, out of mind, and I can't really hate on it, because there's some people who it's just the music,
Yeah.
They got to express, and they got to.
I can be bad about that sometimes, depending on what my anxiety level is or what mind state I'm in. Like sometimes after a show, I just want to get,
Oh man, well, shows. I mean, if that spotlight is burning your soul out, and you're sweating as well, and it's a workout, man. You're not up there just.
But it is important. I had a friend who put on a music festival recently reach out, and he's like, I booked you for this music festival so you could stick around and network with some of the bigger artists that are on the bill,
That's
and
awesome.
blah blah blah. But I had a show right after I played my set at the music festival
Yeah.
at a place that was like an hour away.
Yeah.
So I had to leave right when I was done. So he's like, why don't you work smarter and not harder and stick around and network with some of these artists that
makes
could
sense.
help you out?
You could have got more exposure from that.
So
more
that's what I'm
connections, yeah.
trying to do right now is really like what makes sense. Why am I killing myself with all these shows, like playing in bars and wineries every weekend where people
Yeah.
aren't even there to really hear?
Yeah, that at a winery becomes more background noise. At a bar,
Exactly,
it's people
which-
trying to bang people and
the reason is because it pays money
Yeah.
and that helps me do this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, I want to play my songs and I want to play as a supporting act for bigger artists or
Yeah.
on music festivals. Or
well, the goal is
that kind
that
of stuff.
bars and wineries will be like the transitory process.
Exactly.
And that's like the step.
And even those shows, sometimes you'll get like 3 or 4 people that'll come up and be like, "Hey, like, you know, I love your voice, or I love this song, or
Yeah.
whatever." And you know, you'll still get some of that, but not like you do at a music festival or a concert venue.
Yeah.
You know, where they line up at the merch table afterwards and they want to talk to you for 20 minutes about the lyrics and
Yeah.
stuff. Like that's, to me, that's why I do it, because I was that kid. You know,
Yeah.
we I can remember going to the Canopy Club in Champaign, Illinois, and watching the Used. They were with My Chemical Romance, Story of the Year, and Thrice.
Oh my gosh.
Crazy
what a
show.
lineup.
Yeah.
That must have been nuts.
It was nuts. And we were pulling up to the Canopy Club, and there's a sandwich shop next door, and Burt McCracken's out there talking on his cell phone, eating a sandwich that's about as tall as he is. I mean, he's super short.
Yeah.
And but we just went up to him and started talking to him about songs that were on the record, and they were on Conan O'Brien the night before, and we were like, what was it like being on Conan O'Brien? He's like, he's tall, man, you know. And it's like and it was just, I just remember like he was very like inviting, you know what I mean? He was like happy to talk about the record. He was happy to talk to us, you know, because we listened to the record.
Welcoming.
I want to be like that too, you know. I think it's insane. I remember calling home one night and I was playing this show, and I remember I was like, yeah, there were like people out there singing the words to the songs, and like I was like, it's just crazy. The record's doing really well. It's got like about 95,000 streams since I released it like a month ago, which is like crazy. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's epic, man. Well, that's progress you can measure.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And show like a record label. You know, because I'm definitely pitching to anyone who will listen.
Yeah.
So, you know, show them like, look.
Bring a lawyer if you sign that paper.
Exactly. But just showing them the music video, like, hey, man, I released this a month ago. It's got like 11,000 views and, you know, however many comments. And the record, I dropped it like a month ago. It's got 95,000 streams between the 10 songs.
That's
like,
awesome.
What do I need to do? What else do I need? What's my next move?
Yeah,
you know,
that's huge.
Which I think it's booking a tour.
Yeah,
I mean, for sure, getting outside of this area with the music. You know,
have you considered getting somebody to like manage multiple social media platforms for you, so you wouldn't actually have to be hands on with everything?
I would love to do that.
Because I think that's probably so. Like the music industry has changed from just being just giant labels. The biggest way people get music now are apps, social media apps,
for sure.
And I think a lot of labels are probably measuring how many followers, how many streams, of course.
Yeah.
And if you can find somebody, or if you already do, that would like run an Instagram and a TikTok, and hell, some people even use Snapchats for their stuff. Do you have like a band manager, or are you still kind of just in that process?
No, I would love to get one. Some of my buddies told me that in the Way Down Wonders, they said that I need to do Folk Alliance this coming year.
Yeah.
And it's a like basically like a huge networking conference for like folk artists and folk, not even just folk artists, but just artists, I guess, and like managers, booking agents. And they said they met their manager and their booking agent through Folk
cool.
Alliance. And I mean, those dudes tour full time. They just got signed last
Career.
year.
Yeah.
So, and that's the goal, is to have this be the career and not have to do something secondary. Like, this pays the bills, this takes care of the kids.
Yeah.
I could have made it easier on myself by having less kids, but no regrets.
That just means you're gonna have a longer table.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm happy about that. You know, I think one of the saddest things in the world is like probably to die alone. You know, and not have anybody. So I mean, if nothing else, you know, I'll have a big family. You know,
awesome. Christmases are going to be expensive and fun as hell.
And fun, yeah.
So we played a music video.
Yeah.
Would you like to do a acoustic?
Sure, man. I can play a song.
Throw something on here.
Yeah. Let me get this out.
And do you also have merch if people want to support you?
Dude, yeah.
Is that on your website?
It is on my website. I need to update some of it, but yeah, it is. So JeremyTodd.com.
JeremyTodd.com.
Yes. And yeah, it's got everything. It's got links to all the socials. It's got links to everything. All the merch.
So the
all
website,
socials.
that's the baby to go to.
It is. The
All right.
Bandzoogle. That's what I did it through. But
There
yeah,
you
it's
go.
just JeremyToddMusic.com.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to give you the floor here.
cool. All right. Hopefully I won't be too loud for the...
Oh, these walls are thick, so you're good.
This song's called The Long Bright Dart.
All right.
Run, run, wherever you want, but no devil's gonna get us for what we've done. You could try and scare us with it all you want, but no devil's gonna get us, no devil's gonna stop us. Run, run, wherever you want, but no devil's gonna get us for what we've done. You could try and scare us with it all you want, but no devil's gonna get us, no devil's gonna stop us. Right and what's wrong, 'cause I got my windows down, oh, and the sunlight shining on me. So you tried to scare us with the devil. Now we all knew that shit was a lie. So you tried to save me in the temple. All that saves me now is my windows down, oh, and the sunlight shining on me. So take a second now, oh, take a couple steps back and find out who you are. You only get this life, you only get one shot now. It might as well be in the dark. Oh, it might as well be in the dark. So you say the world has made me colder now that I have grown. I say it's just kept me more in tune with what the future holds. I got my windows way down, oh, and the sunlight shining on me. So take a second now, oh, take a couple steps back and find out who you are. You only get this life, you only get one shot now. Might as well be in the dark. Oh, it might as well be in the dark. Run, run, wherever you want, but no devil's gonna get us for what we've done. You could try and scare us with it all you want, but no devil's gonna get us, no devil's gonna stop us. Run, run, wherever you want, but no devil's gonna get us for what we do. You can try and scare us with it all you want, but no devil's gonna get us, no devil's gonna stop us. And that's the sound of a man working on a change. And that's the sound of a man working on a change. So take a second now, take a couple steps back, find out who you are. You only get this life, you only get one shot. Now we might as well be in the dark. Oh, we might as well be in the dark. 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 Might as well be in the dark.
First of all, that blows my fucking mind, and you're amazing.
Thanks, man.
No, you have something special here, man.
Thank you very much.
It's so delightful and interesting to be even witness to this.
Well, thank you.
And I can imagine this,
That's really nice.
what the crowd must do seeing your stuff.
Man, it depends on the show. If it's
That's
at a
for
restaurant,
sure.
it depends-
If they're
it's a
drunk, they don't know
restaurant,
what you're
not much.
doing. Yeah.
So
Yeah. And
But,
that song was called what again?
that's called The Long Bright Dart.
And that's on Apple Music?
Yeah, it's on all of them.
That's a great song, man.
Thank you
That's
very
an amazing
much.
song.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. And those lyrics, they hit. They slap.
Thank you. Yeah, I grew up in a very, I don't want to say oppressive is the wrong word. I grew up in the church for
Yeah.
a long time.
Uh-huh.
I even led praise and worship for like 13 years.
Yeah.
And eventually, at some point, I was just like, and I'm not saying I know or don't know, but that's where I'm at with it. I was listening to an episode of Joe Rogan one day, and this like Christian evangelist person was on there or something like that. And Joe Rogan's like, well, yeah, but why do you think you know? You know, how he's kind of like, and the guy's like, well, because I do know. He's like, well,
How do you know?
but you don't know.
Yeah.
He's like, that's great if you think that, but he's like, I don't know. He's like, that's why. He's like, I'm not ruling it out. I don't
Yeah.
know that there isn't a God, but I
Yeah.
also don't know. And eventually, that's just like kind of where I felt like I fell.
Yeah.
I was like, I mean, nothing. There's just, I don't know. You
Well,
know
the
what I
older
mean?
you get, the more you realize you don't fucking know.
I don't know anything. And
Yeah.
so to put all my eggs in this one basket and to have served so many years for this thing that, I don't know, it just Americanized Christianity as a whole for
Yeah.
me just kind of felt like it served an agenda maybe.
There's some agenda stuff in there. I mean, because I think the idea of Christianity in the Bible for a long time was a great concept,
Yeah.
but we've also seen how it can be used for bad.
Definitely.
And the fact that the church doesn't even pay taxes kind of blows my mind because we need that currency to keep moving.
Sure we do.
But I was Christian Baptist for 9 years old until I was about 18. So that's when I started really questioning things.
Yeah.
When I started going, what do I know?
Yeah.
You know, what do I really know?
Yeah.
The thing I know where I'm like, I'm right. Well, I've been wrong all the time. Like, you know, how do I know
Yeah.
what real
Yeah.
religion or spirituality or whatever that is truly is?
And that's the thing. I got to a point where it's like, man, I felt more spirituality listening to like a record than I've ever felt like in a church service.
That is a phenomenal point.
You know? And not to, I've also had some really great experiences in church also and met some really great people, but I think overall the experience just wasn't living up to what they were saying it was. You know
The
what I
painting
mean?
was not being pictured the way you were
Yeah,
told.
exactly.
It was supposed to, yeah.
And so I just had to, I think at one point I told the pastor of the church I was at, I was just like, I cannot like lead worship and make it believable anymore, because I don't even believe what I'm singing necessarily.
Yeah.
So to lead these people into it, and they've got their hands out there in the air, and I'm like up there singing it, and I'm just watching them all, thinking like, why are you?
You're
doing
changing
that right now?
Yeah.
You know, and nothing on those people.
Yeah.
That's
your own journey. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest flaws with our country as a whole, is like we're so worried about what everybody else is doing and believes in and all this stuff, and it's like, it doesn't matter. Just don't shove it down my throat.
Exactly. If
Be
someone
whatever
asks you about your
be.
beliefs, have that conversation, but don't shove it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, just like the whole everyone hating on Dave Chappelle because the transphobia stuff.
Yeah.
And he's not.
Well, he's a comedian as well. Yeah.
And he makes fun of everyone.
Yeah.
He makes fun of white people.
He makes fun of
fat
himself
people,
half the
skinny
time.
People. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I just like, it's gotten to a point where when I changed my band name from or my solo name from Jeremy T. McConaughey to Jeremy Todd, I was gonna go. Everyone calls me J Mac Honky or just Honky.
Yeah.
And that's what I was gonna go by, because I was like, man, if I was rolling up to like Bonnaroo, and Jeremy Todd was playing this stage and J Mac Honky was playing this stage at the same time, I'm probably gonna go see what J Mac Honky's about. It's just a funnier name.
It's got a twang to it, yeah.
You know?
It's got a curiosity.
Yeah. And Jeremy Todd sounds very boring. So I was just like,
what sounds official?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and it's my name. It's my first and middle name. So I was like, you know, I think I'm going to roll with that. And then I was like, I'll post it on Facebook first and do like a poll thing. And if one person even messages me that they're offended because of the political correctness, you know, cancel culture thing that we're into, I was like, I won't use it.
That would be the signal.
I had so many people that were like, you can't say honky. Like, honky's wrong. Like, all this. And I was just like,
is it?
But one white person that's offended by the word honky.
Yeah.
You know? And a white person can't say honky, but Jay-Z can say the N-word in his songs like a million times. And I'm fine with that. I'm not offended by that.
Yeah.
And
well, it's a culture thing, I guess.
Yeah, it is, for sure.
But we have our own culture as well, and we should be able to say whatever.
We do, and like we still call like old country honky tonk and stuff like that. It's the same
honky
concept.
Tonk,
And yeah, exactly. So like,
I work at Texas Roadhouse, and that's all I hear all day anyway.
Sure, man.
Margaritaville, and I love it. I am not actually a big fan of country, but I'm feeling the waters changing on me.
Oh man, I love country music
because I'm getting surrounded by
country, but
I like original country, like old country.
Yeah.
I'm getting used to some modern country, but a lot of it I'm like, why am I hearing auto-tune on country?
Yeah, 90s
you know?
country's good, some of it, but then I grew up on like Buck Owens, and my grandparents listened to that stuff, Ernest Tubb and Tom T. Hall, and like I can remember being in the car and hearing those songs, and Hank Sr. was huge. You know, my grandpa loved him, and my grandma loved him, and but I just think it's funny. Like my grandma, for instance, she would listen to Hank Sr.
Yeah.
Even though he did all his, but she wouldn't listen to Elton John because he was gay.
That's so disappointing.
Like, man, you're missing out because Elton John's amazing.
He's an amazing artist. I've been listening to him since I was a child. Like his song "Blessed" hit me deep, and that's just about having a child.
Yeah.
I don't have a child, but for some reason that song hit me deep. You know. Elton John's a phenomenal artist.
He is, and I think that's so limiting too. And then you get in these religions and stuff, and you get in this headspace where, I mean, if you read about Jesus didn't single people out.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I'm not going to listen to Elton John because Elton John's gay, and I don't believe with gay lifestyle.
Yeah.
You don't have
It's not even
to.
your business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You don't have to watch. You don't have to partake.
Yeah.
You just let them do
let
their
them
thing.
exist.
Do your thing. That's right. And so I always thought that was sad, and that stuff like that is kind of what started giving me my skepticism about like religion as a whole. I was just like, man, I don't like, if it's that, like, we're just going to like separate everyone that is not.
It's
like,
tribalism. It's still tribalism with a coat on. You know what I mean? It's people that are like, we have love and spirituality, and this house is golden and wonderful and flawless, and then you hear how they talk to people, and you're like, you're it's like walking into someone's front door and telling them what's wrong with them. It's like, that's not how it's supposed. The thing with religion is, I think people get lost on the messenger. I think it's the message, right? That's what we should be focused on. And it wasn't that Jesus was a Christian or Buddha was Buddhist. It's like these people are just saying a perspective that we need to listen to because it makes sense, it resonates.
Yeah.
They're not saying you can't be gay And you shouldn't be saying that
Right.
if you're any religion.
Right. Nobody should be telling anybody what they should or shouldn't
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
Unless it's directly like now if something that you're doing is directly affecting me or my family or something like that, like causing us harm in some form, then I would say something. But none of the stuff that people bitch about is usually.
No,
you know
never.
I mean?
It should be more live and let live.
Exactly.
I mean, you can think about. I used to have a long ass hair, right, and I had long blonde hair. And as a server, and it's like a female world, right? A lot of female servers, and I'd be turning around and some dude would be like, "Excuse me, miss," and I'm like, "Hey, man." I would turn around with a beard, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I'm like, "Dude, who cares? Whatever."
Yeah.
It's not like you were like, "This guy's a guy. I'm gonna call him a woman."
Yeah.
You know, it was like almost nothing anyone says is some direct offensive thing. It's like half the people don't know what they're saying, and why take all this energy to explain everything? Just let them be as you want them to let you be.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's I think that's another reason we're suffering with comedy and lack of comedy is because people are afraid to fucking tell jokes anymore. And if we're afraid of joy, that's kind of scary.
I just watched this 2-part special with Daniel Sloss, I think is his name.
Don't know him.
Man, he's talking about his sister had cerebral palsy.
Palsy.
And he was talking about how they got into a car wreck and everyone was okay, but the car was flipped over, so the mom and dad got out and the dad was carrying him, and the mom took the daughter out of the wheelchair and was carrying her limp body, and he said the stranger from far away was like, "No." And he's like, "My mom lost her shit. She just set my sister's limp body down on the road and fell to her knees and started laughing because the guy and all these people in the audience are like, oh," and he's like, "What?" He's like,
"That's fucking hilarious."
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
And he said he puts it into this perspective. It's like, who are you feeling sorry for?
Yeah.
He said, my sister, that's my sister. He's like, I love my sister.
Yeah.
You don't get to,
Well, it's actually backwards when people are trying to push that you can't say that. Most of the time it's like you're actually the one defining the person by that.
Yeah.
It's not that that's actually an issue. You're making it an issue.
And that's what he says. He says, when you say that somebody's disability can't be funny, you're taking something away from them that you and I have because we can be funny. Why can't they be funny?
Yeah.
And he said, you don't get to say that like my sister's disability isn't funny. He's like, because it's actually hilarious.
Yeah.
And he just puts it in this perspective, but you can tell that people are really uneasy about it. And it just gets, I recommend it if you like stand up.
And his name is, what is it again?
Daniel Sloss.
Daniel Sloss. I'm going to have to watch back and actually I can write this stuff down. Because that sounds...
It's so
SLOSS?
Yes.
That
I think.
Well, the fact that you can even paint that picture of that scenario.
Yeah.
Because it's such a heart-crushing scenario, and then that happens.
And it gets worse.
Oh.
It gets worse.
Really?
Yeah.
So I gotta watch the whole damn thing.
Oh my gosh. And he builds it up and builds it up, and then the end of it is just like the whole room is silent. And he's like, "This is my favorite part of the show."
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's how stand-up should be, though.
Yeah.
And there are comics who, didn't really like Mitch Hedberg. Anybody can listen to Mitch Hedberg.
Yeah.
Because nothing's really super offensive.
Yeah.
It's all just kind of
it's all lighthearted anyway.
Yeah,
I mean, he's just.
And then you listen to somebody like Dave Chappelle, and it's like.
He's cutting a little. There's some sandpaper in there.
There is.
But you don't have to watch it.
You don't have to.
You don't have to watch it. And that he's still got a huge heart. Like he's a comedian with a heart, and half the stuff he says is a joke, and he don't mean it.
Yeah.
Whenever he'll tell a joke, and then he'll go smack himself with the microphone. That's like his own tag. Like, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
You guys understand? I'm kidding. Yeah. Stand up.
I love when he comes out and he's like, I had to take some time off. He's like, do you know why I had to take some time off? Because of you guys. He's like, you guys made this not fun.
Yeah.
He's like, you made it so that we couldn't be funny anymore. And that's so true.
Well, for someone that's a career comedian to be like, my job is at stake.
Yeah.
And I have to, like imagine if you can't play what you want to play, and someone comes up and like, well, folk music did X, Y, or Z, and now you have to play something else.
Or you can't sing a song about a man and a woman anymore because relationships are so much more than men and women. Okay, and that's great. I totally respect that.
Yeah.
That's not my story.
This is my canvas.
This is my story.
Yeah.
You can put whatever you want to it. You know what I mean? If you want to think of the relationship as, you know, homosexual and not heterosexual, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
But you don't get, and that's kind of what Dave Chappelle was saying in his stand. You don't get to change my facts. You know what I mean? You don't get to like write my narrative because you believe in something different. That's fine that you believe that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't change the facts. And I kind of dig that stuff, you know. And hopefully it never gets to that where you can't write a certain way.
Well, I think the pushback's starting to happen because people are like, people wonder why the 90s seemed so happy because we had so many movies that just made you fucking laugh your out. We had like Waterboy and stuff like that. Happy Gilmore was 90s.
Happy Gilmore was hilarious.
And
Adam Sandler was hilarious.
Dude, when he was young and immature, his is best stuff. I mean, his stuff nowadays is cool too.
It's still good,
But the comedians back then were awesome too. I mean, there was just this open, joyful that anybody could come up with something.
Norm Macdonald, like so ruthless.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh, dude, he was sandpaper for sure.
Yeah, and I loved that because it made you. That's why I love Wes Anderson movies.
Mm-hmm.
Not that he's a comic, but his movies are awkward and dysfunctional.
Yeah.
They're hilarious, but they're also sad. And you're like, what am I supposed to be doing right now? Should I be laughing or crying?
Well, it's psychological.
Should I be angry?
Yeah, that's an interesting key there.
And I love that about like Dave Chappelle. It's like, man, that is funny, but he's also saying something that's factual.
He's fucking really philosophical. Like Dave Chappelle is like he's a poet, comedian, entertainer. And he's also just this humongous philosopher. Like, he's like Plato with the microphone. And then he can, cut into you a little bit. But I think Dave Chappelle, Eddie fucking Murphy, I read that he's going to have a stand-up special, but this was a couple years ago, and it still ain't come out on Netflix yet, I don't think.
Yeah, I would watch that.
His stuff was fucking out there. Like, he said some shit. He'd have a hard time pushing against cancel culture nowadays. Because did you ever watch Raw or Delirious back in the day?
I don't think so.
Dude, if you want to talk about one of the best stand-ups you'll ever see, both of those are power hitters. You'll belly laugh. It's fucking hilarious.
I can remember... Man, I don't know how old I was. I was young, but a lot of my family lives in Michigan, and my grandma would go there every year, and I had her get me a Detroit Lions jacket just like the one Axel Foley wore in Beverly Hills Cops.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
The same shoes.
That's awesome. It was a look.
With it.
It was a look.
It was so awesome.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be Eddie Murphy in those movies because I loved those movies so much. Yeah, and then so from that got into like his stand-up a little bit and stuff like that. And he was pretty ruthless.
Yeah.
In the best way, though.
Yeah.
That's what it should be about. I mean, it's not as funny when you start picking it all apart, you know?
Well, yeah, so. I mean, it's because it's meant for entertainment, and it's not, it has no bad connotation to it. Right. It's like, it is what you make out of it, sure, but if you're looking into something to try to make it something it's not, that says more about you than what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If someone's trying to it's a career, and they want to make money off of it, that's their joy, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And it's not that their joy is to tear people apart. It's like to make light of situations that are uncomfortable.
Yes.
Like me, I have CPTSD and I make fun of that shit 24/7. 24/7, because it's crazy.
Yeah. And the thing is, I remember, so my dad, I said earlier, my dad committed suicide. Yeah. How I cope with that a little bit is by making jokes about it, and other people are like, "That is so inappropriate." Like,
well, what else are you supposed to do about it?
You,
yeah, that's your pain to do with like, what you want.
And I mean, and everyone deals with stuff in their own way, you know. I'm not one of those people that just cries about stuff all the time, and whatever, you know, I do sometimes.
Yeah,
but
of course, it's in your nature. I mean, we're human.
But I finding the humor in like the tragedies is like that's the best coping mechanism for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, because a lot of things you can observe them and be like, a lot of pain comes from a deep level of emotion, and you got to cry it out. Mm-hmm. It breaks you, but eventually you get tired of crying, you know, and you're like, and then you kind of get over the hurt, the cut of it. And eventually it scabs over and it heals, and then now you can connect it to a new pathway. Yeah. You can take something that used to pain you and now bring some kind of joy out of it.
Right.
And people don't understand that concept. They're like, it has to be pain.
Yeah.
And you're just like, well, you don't understand. We want to move on beyond the pain. We want to heal. Now it will sound fucked up, but it's like that's not the point of it. Really, it's therapy. Yeah. Like the stuff I went through when I was younger that was fucking psycho, like crazy shit. it's hilarious. Like looking back at it,
Yeah.
because back then it did hurt.
Right.
But nowadays, like I'm beyond it and I'm healing, and it's just like you create your own therapy and however you want it. And who is it? It is not their responsibility to tell you how you deal with things.
Right, and it's just the dramatics of it when someone is like, suicide is not funny. I never said that suicide was funny. That is not what I said. I'm joking about my experience and my outlook on the situation as it pertains to me, not your situation, not anyone else's situation. This pertains to me and me alone and my experience with it and my father and my father's father and his father's father. You know, like, so yeah, and people love it. I think to get bent out of shape about nothing.
Well, it's a trend. It's this strange. I think it's people that don't create. It's not. It's really never the creatives that are cutting people down.
Yeah,
these are people without hobbies. People that don't have these creative outlets because that's their outlet.
Yeah.
It's chopping stuff up because if they didn't have that, what would they have? They would have to realize they don't got anything else going on.
Yeah. Father John Misty has a song called The Ballad of a Dying Man, and it's this guy that's dying and he's wondering who's going to put everyone in their place on social media and stuff like that. That's what the song is about. Like, like he's taking his final breath and he's wondering, like, who's going to, like, tell all these people, like, they're wrong.
Yeah.
That's
funny.
The whole story is so good. And I love that kind of stuff. That whole record, Pure Comedy, is just sums up our culture as a whole, which is sad, really, but
it is what it is.
Yeah. But yeah, man.
Well, Jeremy, this was dope. I say we'll wrap this up, and we can always do a round two because this is fun. You're fun. You're
Thanks,
fun as
man.
hell.
Yeah.
This has
I
been a
can
blast.
talk forever for sure. So.
And I'm the same way here. But anything you want to shout out or plug?
Check out JeremyToddMusic.com, Jeremy Todd on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all that stuff. And that's it. YouTube. Got music videos. The new record, which is just the self-titled record, it was released May 27th. It's available on all streaming platforms.
Download that shit and throw it on some playlists. Help him spread the word. If you like it, tell some people.
Yes.
Go to some of his shows. Book this man.
Yeah.
To book you, do they go through the website?
They can go through Facebook or go through the website. I have an email set up through the website. It's info@jeremytoddmusic.com. And then, or Facebook Messenger is a great way to do it as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, brother.
Thank you.
And anybody that's enjoying this stuff, follow Jeremy Todd on all platforms. Support him. And hey, Lucian Black with Into the Chasm here. If you know anyone that has any odd talents or creative talents, artists, painters, sculptors, anyone that spins poi, devil sticks, or paranormal, supernatural stuff. Ghost hunters. I want to get some spooky people on here as well. Spread the word. Get some people on here and support local artists. Have a good night, y'all. Thanks for joining in.